Welcome back to appTECH Talk. Over the past few weeks, we've talked about all kinds of different things regarding information security and what you can do to further your security stance with your organization. We've talked about things like the NIST cybersecurity framework. We've talked about penetration testing. We've talked about remediation. And last week, we even talked about an IRP, an incident response plan. Well, the truth is, to align all of these things, it takes experience and it takes someone to guide you through this. So this week, we're going to talk about what a vCISO service is. Stay tuned. So what is a vCISO? Furthermore, what is a CISO or this V in front of it? Well, CISO stands for Chief Information Security Officer. Typically, this would be someone full-time that works within an organization. The issue is that a full-time CISO can cost anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000 a year in salary. So we put this V in front of it, and what does that mean? Well, it means a virtual CISO. So basically, a virtual CISO is someone that your company or organization can hire to work with your organization maybe 1 day a week, 3 days a week, maybe monthly, maybe even quarterly, and we're going to break that down. The truth is, you know your organization, but a vCISO knows security. So the great thing about combining the services is that you can take your knowledge about your organization and bring in a vCISO that knows about security, and one of the vCISO's jobs is to align your security posture with your business. Every organization is different. Risks are different in different organizations. So what a vCISO does is he tries to help you align your security posture with the risks that are most vulnerable in your organization. So personally, when I go in on a vCISO assessment, my number one thing is to listen, learn, and try to understand your organization. I want to understand the people within your organization. I want to understand the headaches. I want to understand what is important to your organization, what type of intellectual property you have, what risks you have as an organization. And then from there, I'm going to lead you down a path that we're going to talk about. One of the important things to understand about a vCISO is that we are the conduit between your security team and the upper management or stakeholders or board. Typically, a vCISO reports to the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, or multiple times they report to the board as well. So a vCISO's job is to understand the CIO's pain points or the board's pain points and be able to communicate that to the security team and vice versa. We want to be able to communicate the security concerns to either the CIO or the stakeholder. So that is one of the primary jobs of a vCISO, is to be that conduit in between. So after a vCISO understands your organization, not just technically, but understands what your organization is about, what's important to the organization, what the risks and concerns are about the organization, then we start taking our first steps. Every CISO or vCISO is different. They all have different starting points. Personally, for me, I like to start at the root. I like to start at the bottom, meaning I like to start with policies and procedures. Once I understand an organization, I want to take a good, hard look at the policies and procedures that drive that organization, that drive the governance of that organization. So that's one of the first places that I start. I want to take a good, solid look at the policies and procedures to see how things flow or how they are supposed to flow through an organization. Many times I walk into an organization and I see policies and procedures, but one of the first things that I see are review dates that are 3 or 4 years old or even 10 years old. I see policies and procedures that have things inside of them that we know are not happening. So it is very important that the policies and procedures align with the business. Just to give you one example of something that could be in a policy, it could be listed in a policy that users are required to have user awareness training once a year. Well, as someone coming in from a high level looking at this strategically, I also want to see evidence that this is actually happening. So if there's a policy that says your users are being trained once a year, I want to see the evidence that they actually are being trained. As another example, if a policy mentions that systems are being monitored 24/7 and incidents are being reported if there is an anomaly or if there is something odd that happens, I want to see samples of that incident report. I want to see if the evidence matches up with what the policies are actually stating. Compliance. That's the word that we all love to hear, compliance. That's what I'm going to talk about here. Every organization has different compliance requirements. And just to give you an example, I'm going to talk about PCI for a second. So PCI has over 300 controls that an organization has to meet if they are taking over a certain amount of credit cards every year. If an organization is taking over 6 million credit cards in a year, they have very strict PCI compliance requirements that they have to meet. Even if an organization is taking only 20,000 credit cards a year, they still have compliance measurements to meet. As a vCISO, one of the jobs is to look at the controls that are in place, look at the security posture, look at the policies and procedures to ensure that compliance is able to be met. If for some reason we're not meeting that compliance, then a vCISO's job is to elaborate on those gaps and help move forward and walk through the processes of how to become compliant. Even if an organization does not have a required compliance framework that they have to meet, our job is to help you align your security posture with your organization. So typically, we would use the NIST cybersecurity framework as well. Even though you don't have to be compliant to that in some examples, it is very important that you have some type of framework to align to. So a vCISO's job is to at least have one of those frameworks in mind when they're helping you with your strategy. We did talk about user awareness training and security awareness training briefly, but that is also something that a vCISO looks at as well. Is your security awareness training being effective? Is it happening often enough? Because we all know that people are typically the most vulnerable when it comes to breaches. So once compliance is looked at, once policies and procedures are looked at, and once a vCISO understands your organization, a vCISO typically wants to see a security assessment. Maybe a security assessment has never been done before, so his or her job is to walk you through that and the steps, so that now we can actually take a good hard look at the technical risks that your organization has within a security assessment. As part of a security assessment, one of the things that I like to look at is getting, again, to the root of the problem. So maybe systems keep having vulnerabilities over and over and over, and we keep patching to solve these vulnerabilities. Well, by getting to the root of the problem, we can actually solve this, or else we're just chasing our tail trying to patch for these vulnerabilities that keep appearing. So one of the things that I like to do, as I mentioned, is getting to the root of the problem and looking at patching schedules, system hardening procedures, and things like that. As part of a security assessment, we don't only look at the technical things, but we look at the logical things as well. So we want to look at the big picture of what, why, and how some of these issues are arising, because if we can get to the root of the problem, we can help make your organization's security posture a little more streamlined and a little more protected. A vCISO is most likely going to walk you through an internal penetration test, an external penetration test. Internal scanning is something that is typically going to be set up on an ongoing, regular basis, and he or she will help walk you through the process of having that done. They're not going to do that testing for you, but they're going to walk you through the process, talk about different vendors, and talk about different types of services that you can use so that you can have these things set up on an ongoing basis. On the external side, that is something that's going to be focused on as well. A vCISO is going to help you find a third party, typically, to help you do an external penetration test. Then they're going to look at that penetration test and see what the biggest risks are, what the biggest vulnerabilities are, and then also help you kind of strategize and prioritize those vulnerabilities to get those fixed. And not only those vulnerabilities, but strategize and figure out, again, why these vulnerabilities keep occurring and help you create a plan to get these under control. As a vCISO, one of the things that is important to me are people. And just to give you an example, I personally hate to see companies struggle with turnover. I try to look at why is there so much turnover within the security department of an organization. Is it because people's knowledge and intellectual talent is not being challenged enough? Is it because there is not a culture that has been created to allow these people to share their knowledge and feel comfortable and ask questions? So people are one of the main things that I try to focus on as well, to make sure that people's talent is utilized not only for them, but for your organization as well. Most good vCISOs know that if a breach hasn't happened or a major security event hasn't happened, that it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So a vCISO's job is also to help you prepare for that. For an example, creating an incident response plan, which we talked about in our last video. That is extremely important. It's extremely important to have a process to follow, certain policies and procedures to follow, and proper chain to go through when an incident occurs. So helping you develop a proper incident response plan is of utmost importance. Typically, a vCISO's job is to look at things from a 30,000-foot view. They normally have experience on the blue team, on the red team, on the compliance side, and many other parts of information security. So it's leveraging the knowledge of a vCISO to take that 30,000-foot view to make sure that your security posture is absolutely aligned with your organization. Typically, as an organization, you want to be able to leverage and take advantage of your vCISO's niche skill set. Every vCISO, as I mentioned, is a little bit different. And just to give you an example, if your organization has specific compliance requirements around NIST, then you need to ensure that your vCISO has some NIST experience for that framework. If your organization has PCI compliance requirements, then you need to ensure that your vCISO has some experience on that side as well. So you want to leverage and understand the vCISO that you're hiring to make sure that they match your organization. Typically, as an organization, you want to get as secure as possible, as quickly as possible. But the truth is that security is a marathon and it's not a sprint. There are small things that can be done every day, but the main thing is to make sure that your entire security program is aligned around your business. That's what a vCISO is for, is to make sure that your marathon is being ran, to make sure that all of the small puzzle pieces are put together for the same purpose. That is what a vCISO does. Even if your organization has a great security posture and it is going the way that you want it to go, it is really important to have someone look at everything from a high level to ensure that there are no major gaps that you're not seeing. It's often great to have a different perspective from someone that's neutral in the company to take a look at everything from a big picture to make sure that all of the pieces are lined up and headed in the right direction. For more information on how a vCISO can help your organization, please feel free to reach out. Thank you for tuning in once again, and we will see you next week on appTECH Talk.